This conference will now be recorded.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, bless us as we gather here today to conduct business that will affect the citizens of the Rio Grande Valley. Give us the clarity of mind to act in their best interest and not ours. We ask that you bless our speakers and that you would bless our time together here today. May we grasp those things that you want us to understand, and may our actions and attitudes please you this day. We pray these things in your almighty name, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moving on to item number 2, consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes from June 28th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second.
A second by,
Lupita Sanchez.
okay.
I have a
Do you have
question. One question on the minutes.
Sure.
You know, does it reflect on the minutes anywhere who was present and who was not as presented to us? I know you have a record somewhere,
Yes,
but in the minutes when we approve them, you know, unless I'm missing something totally, I don't see a reflection of who was present and who wasn't, aside from the fact that there was a quorum.
yes, no, they're not noted on the minutes.
I think that for the record, moving forward, we ought to include that in our minutes, aside from just saying a quorum is present.
We will do that, Commissioner. We'll add for future minutes, we'll add people that are present and absent.
Yeah, because I know that all of the other boards that I serve on always include that in the minutes to reflect who was present at the meetings.
Okay, but we do, just for the benefit of the group, we do have the recorded, attendance that we attach to the packet for archive purposes.
Just attach it to our minutes.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. So we have a motion by Mayor Garza and a second by Mayor Darling. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, public comment. Do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have Mario Reina. Mario Reina.
This conference will now be recorded.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Mario Reina. I'm with the Hidalgo County Prosperity Task Force. This is an initiative that started back in February of 2020 by Judge Richard Cortez. And the idea behind this initiative is to help some of the population in Hidalgo County. You know, I think in doing what you do, I think you see a lot of numbers every day. But I think some of the numbers that we see in Hidalgo County are, you know, they're a little bit tough to look at. What am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about that, we have about a 29% poverty rate in Hidalgo County. And that is a very significant amount of people that live under those conditions. So what we're trying to do with the Prosperity Task Force is to create more human capital, if you will. So some of the things that we have done, we have organized the Prosperity Task Force into different groups. And some of you are here that belong to those groups. So we have groups like medical services, housing, transportation, administration, finance, counseling, mentoring, economic development, workforce development, higher education. We also have a policy group and a CEO group. So the idea is to mobilize as many opportunities that we have to help those that need help. Why? Why is this so important? So we have some of the numbers that we look at we have about 106,000 people that work in Hidalgo County, but they work for poverty wages. They're working, but they're working for poverty wages. And out of that number, 6%, about 7,800 have a bachelor's degree. It really doesn't make any sense. So the idea that we want to impress on everyone is that we need to do something different, and we're doing things that hopefully will be different. One of the things that you will hear more about is something called Unite Us. So Unite Us is the platform that's going to identify the people that need help. So this platform is going to be used, hopefully, like the Food Bank, United Way, El Milagro Clinic, Vida, SDC, and any other agency that wants to use it. All the nonprofits, it's free for them. Everybody else has to pay. So those that have to pay, they will let you know who needs to pay. But the idea here is that we will know who needs help. And for those people that will be using Unite Us, not only are they going to be asking them the questions to be in that particular platform, like if you're to go to the food bank, they'll ask you questions about who you are, what have you. But then we're going to ask a couple more questions. Do you want to work? Are you working? Do you want to work? If they say that they do want to work, they'll be sent over to Workforce Solutions. If they say they need a skill, they'll be sent somewhere where they can get a skill. It can be STT, UTRGV, whatever institutions is out there. That's the idea behind it. So this platform is going to be, it's coming. You're going to hear about it. We should be making some major announcements sometime in October. So you will Unite Us is the word that you're going to hear. And also the other thing that we're doing, there's several things, but 3 minutes is not a lot of time. But the other major event activity that we're doing is something called the Recompete Pilot Program. And you'll hear more about it in a minute. But the Recompete Pilot Program is going to cover the 4 counties. And it might be the potential of $50 million. And the major institutions involved with this are UTRGV, Texas College, South Texas College, Texas A&M, and TFTC. So they're going to be involved. You're going to hear more about this. Why are we here? We want you to know about this. We need your support. Any group that you want to belong to, please let us know, and we welcome your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reyna. Item 4, administration, Manny.
Yes, ma'am. Before I move on to administrative items, just wanted to provide to you all with an update. I know you received through email on the invitation for the board. Ms. Debbie Morales had an unfortunate situation, life-threatening. So without going into too many details, she went to the hospital, had operation, and so she's doing well. And so she was actually here, came by here on Tuesday. So she's pretty lively right now. But she's going to need a long time to recover, unfortunately. And so I hope that I can do as good a job as her. I had to dust off the dust off myself and get all this prepared with the help of Angela Alvarado. She's our assistant or executive assistant from the RGV 911 district. So luckily we had her on hand to lend a hand. And so hopefully everything comes out the way Debbie likes it. And upon her return, we won't get chastised or other. So just keep her in your prayers, and we shall keep you updated on her status. But she's pretty lively, and she wants to come back to work, but unfortunately, I mean, she can't right now. So until the doctor approves. So. Okay, so moving on to under administration, item A, it's an update from legal counsel on Texas Gas Service proposed rate increase. We did invite that the direction of the board requested last time. I know we haven't met for a month, going on 2 months, but we did invite Mr. Thomas Mercado. I believe he is online to provide everybody an update with what Texas Gas Service presented last time on the status of the Texas Gas Service increase rate. So Mr. Mercado, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to quickly give you an overview of what's been going on, as was mentioned. Let me start with procedurally where things stand. You may remember on June 30th, TGS filed a full comprehensive base rate case for their Rio Grande Valley service area. The deadline for city action to suspend the effective date is September the 3rd. I sent out a reminder this morning. We've received resolutions from 15 cities so far. I'm a little concerned that more cities have not taken action thus far because the deadline, as you're aware, is in just 2 days. So if your city has taken action, if you would, please send us the resolution. TGS also needs to get a copy. If you have not done so, please contact me immediately and we can make some type of arrangement perhaps with the company to give you more time if needed. So that's what's going on. We do have a technical conference set up for next week where the consultants will visit with the company and it allows them to do some informal discovery. And with respect to consultants, we've engaged 3, Lane Collin, Carl Nalepa, and Rick Baldino. These are consultants that we've relied on many times over many years. They're very skilled. They're good at what they do. They're very well liked by the commission staff, and they work well with the utilities as well. So they have begun conducting discovery. We've asked some formal discovery of the utility, and we'll be getting responses back soon. We have settlement conferences on the calendar for September 21st and October the 5th. And so hopefully we'll be able to start negotiations at that point and ultimately reach an agreement. If we don't reach a settlement, we will be filing testimony October the 18th, and there will be a hearing on November the 29th and 30th. The deadline for final city action is December 1st. So sometime in late October, you'll be hearing from us again about taking final action, either to approve a settlement, hopefully, or to deny the rate increase. And so watch for emails from me on that, as I said, later in October. The company, of course, is asking for a $9.81 million increase. That's a 25.94%, almost 26% increase if you exclude the cost of gas, which is a pass-through, so it's a large increase. This is their first comprehensive case since 2017. Since that time, they've been filing annual cost of service adjustment or COSA cases. You may recall each spring they have been filing these sort of mini expedited limited issue rate cases. They stopped doing that in 2022. So going forward, after the conclusion of this case, they will be making what's called GRIP filings. That stands for Gas Reliability Infrastructure Program. They're similar to the COSA in that they happen every year. They're limited issue. Actually, they're even more than that, and I'll explain in a moment. They're sort of an expedited rate matter. GRIP, however, does not allow us to make any adjustments to any of their costs. So we ask, we get situation years from now, 5 or 6 years from now, when they have another full rate case, there will be an examination to see if they charged you anything unreasonable over the preceding 5 or 6 years. We're not fans of GRIP. We never have been. I know Jim probably is well aware of that, and others. But that's their right under the law. And so going forward, they will have GRIP filings, no more COSA. The other thing I did want to mention to you all, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions, is that during Winter Storm Uri in February of 2021, gas utilities across the state incurred very high gas prices. In fact, for that 1 week period, their incremental, meaning the amount that they had to purchase or pay in excess of what they normally would, was on the order of $4 billion. Instead of putting that on your bills, the legislature stepped in and adopted a law in the 2021 legislative session allowing gas utilities to collect all the amounts, put it in a bucket, have the commission review it, and then charge all ratepayers over an extended period of time to collect those amounts. That's referred to as securitization, which is a low interest form of financing. That's taken 2 years basically to sort out. We had a case at the Railroad Commission. You may recall us bringing this up in the past. The commission approved about $3.5 billion to be collected. Again, this is just the extra or incremental prices that gas utilities incurred during that 1 week period, because the price of gas went from $2 and $3 an MMBTU to over $100. We now know that the recovery period is going to be about 16 years, maybe a bit longer. We know that the amount of impact on a customer's bill will be about $4 to $4.50, depending on your usage per month. Those charges have not hit your bills yet, but they will. And they will in the next few months, actually. TGS got about $197 million approved. Other utilities such as CenterPoint had $1.1 billion approved, and Atmos had about $2 billion approved. But the way the commission and the legislature structured this is that all of those dollars are put into a bucket and collected from all ratepayers statewide. So you're basically picking up part of the bill for Atmos and for CenterPoint, even though they don't serve you. And because TGS is portioned $200 million versus $1 and $2 billion, you're paying basically a bigger share than what you should. But you can thank the Texas legislature for that. So that's a summary of the rate case and a little bit about the additional securitization charges that you're going to be facing. I did provide you earlier, in case you wanted to know the impact. If the company's request is granted for a large residential customer living in the cities, it's about an $18.14 increase per month. So your bill would go from about $46 to about $65. That's a very large increase. Smaller customers, because some of this is based upon consumption, would see about a $9.68 increase, going from about $26.60 a month to $36.30 a month. Again, a large increase. So there's an overview of what's going on and a little bit about the request. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have. I see that I'm in the dark here.
Any discussion? Well, thank you. Moving on.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mercado. There's no questions at this time, but thank you so much for your time.
Certainly, I'll drop off, but as always, if you have a follow-up questions or concerns about anything, always feel free to reach out to me either through email or phone call. And as we move forward, of course, I'll continue to give you updates.
Thank you.
All right, thanks all.
Thank you.
Item B is a presentation and consider action regarding the 2022 annual audit. We have Mr. Adrian Webb to present.
Well, my name is Adrian Webb, and our firm conducted the audit for Lower Rio Grande Valley Development Council for year ended December 31, 2022. I'm going to start on the opinion page, which starts on page 1. The council received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion with no findings. The only adjustment that we made to the council was pertaining to where it says the emphasis of matter change of accounting principle. And that's related to the new lease standard that pretty much we adjusted for every entity that we encountered. The next page will be the governmental fund balances or balance sheet, which is on page 14. Total assets were 21.693 million. And liabilities were 21.659 million. This resulted in around a $34,000 unassigned fund balance. The next page will be page 16, which is the income statement for the governmental funds. Total revenues were $32,515,000, and total expenditures were $32,515,000. This resulted in a net change of 0, which is also in compliance with the budget. The next page will be related to the internal controls and major program opinions. Both opinions had no findings concerning compliance, and everything was in good order. Everything that we tested matched, and everything we asked for, staff handed to us in a timely manner.
Mr. Webb, I just wanted to point out, we didn't get the information that you're referring to on time, so therefore it was not part of the agenda packet. I believe we just received it yesterday.
Yes.
So just so the board members are aware that they can't follow along.
Oh,
on the
yes,
presentation.
we brought copies, but I thought we weren't sure that if it was in y'all's packet or not. I'm sorry about that.
I thought it was only me that didn't find it.
No, we just checked. I don't know if you have enough copies for those that are here today.
We had 15.
That might be helpful.
We'll get them passed out. Go ahead. Yeah, I knew there was a question from Commissioner Garza looming, so that's why I
waiting.
had.
I'm sorry about that.
Disappointed, Commissioner.
I didn't want to sound dumb, and because maybe I'm the only one that doesn't have it, you know?
You were on page 15, is that correct?
Page 15, but then now let me see. Do you want me to start over or just go to where I was at? Oh, okay. So we're already going to be on page 159, which is the single audit section. So for the single audit, our major programs were CFDA numbers 20.205, 20.507, 20.526, and then 21.027. It's just, we stated earlier that there was no findings on compliance or any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. And following that page is the list of all the schedule of federal expenditures, so all the federal grants that were spent and all the state awards that were spent. It's not how much was received, but in y'all's case, these are pretty much matching, so the expenditures all match the revenues on these pages.
Basically, we're in good shape. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and really, yeah. And y'all were actually the only entity that writes their own audit report. So that's really good. Most entities that we have, like we mainly do every single page. In this case, we only did the opinions in the single audit section, which cuts out a lot of time.
Is there any questions or discussion from the board? This is an action item.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, the item number C is presentation and action to accept quarterly investment report. Crystal Balboa, our finance director.
Good afternoon. The investment report was provided for review. Are there any questions?
That is in the packet.
Yes, it was provided in the packet.
If there's, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Balboa.
Thank you.
Item D, consideration action to approve the resolution to become a member of the American Flood Coalition. Manny?
Yes, ma'am. For this item, in the interest of time, just wanted to briefly summarize. There's a resolution in the packet. Basically, the American Flood Coalition, as you know, allotted us a grant not too long ago to put on a elected officials workshop, which we did at the island. It was very well received. Everything was, and so Chase is online, and I'll probably just, he might correct me, but I think the COG did an outstanding job so much that they wanted us to be part of the American Flood Coalition, to be members of. There's no dues or funding involved, but we will continue to emphasize and stress the fact of our, flood, our water rising and flood issues that we have here in the Lower Rio Grande Valley as a region moving forward. Chase is online. Chase, do you want to have say a few words?
Yeah, thanks, Manny. I just want to reiterate, I think y'all at COG did a fantastic job, and we were really excited to partner with y'all at that event. We think it was a huge success, and we're really excited to be engaging with y'all going forward with a number of different things. As Manny mentioned, this isn't a situation we're asking for dues or fees. We don't ask any funds from any of our members, but we like to add members to our coalition as a signal that those members are dedicated to elevating flooding and sea level rise as an issue, and it's something we can elevate to other members and partners throughout the state and across the country, and utilize y'all as a solid example for other COGs and other regional groups, not only in the state but across the country. So thank you for considering this.
Wonderful. Is there any discussion? No. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, just for the record, I meant to say this earlier, but Mr. Councilman Johnny Garcia is online. He came on at 12:13, just for the record.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Moving on to item E, consideration and action for the executive director to enter negotiations and approve the contract for Hidalgo County Active Transportation and Active Tourism Plan. Armando Perez.
Before Armando presents, just wanted to set the stage on this. It's a long time coming. We received this award, part of the TASA program, federal program back in 20 or before 2020. And so we are turning around the corner here. And so the intent of this plan is to define opportunities for a regional network in Hidalgo County, focusing on active multimodal transportation and opportunities for active tourism, bike and pedestrian infrastructure, tourism, destinations, flooding and drainage mitigation strategies, health and wellness, and community and economic development. And we are so gracious and lucky that on September 2020, Hidalgo County actually provided forward the funds for the plan. As you know, most of our grants are reimbursement based. And so Hidalgo County did provide complete 100% funding for this project. And so again, as I mentioned, we're on the last leg before we actually venture into consulting services. And so this is for the Hidalgo County, mobility plan. And so I'll turn it over to Armando to present the results.
Well, this was following the vendor was selected through the RFP process. The proposals were submitted and evaluated the committee based on the criteria in the RFP. The committee will include subject matter experts from the RTAP and BTAP committees. The contract will be for 8 to 12 months from work authorization and approval for professional services to the LRGVDC as stated on the RFP. The vendor that was selected was Half Associates.
How much is it for, out of curiosity?
I think it's 330,000. Yes, sir.
Yes, we need action.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And item F, presentation and action to approve resolution 2023-05 for the establishment and membership of the RGV Recompete Coalition and UTRGV submission of the RGV Recompete Plan to Economic Development Administration.
For this item, just wanted to provide you some background on this. And back in June, EDA started making its rounds with the LRGVDC to announce the upcoming launch of the Distressed Area Recompete Pilot Program. Since then, on a monthly basis, like clockwork, they've been calling us to find stakeholders that would be willing and able to tackle this initiative. And so leads me to present Mr. Ron Garza, which we crossed paths, and he was already working on this initiative. And so luckily for the region, it's going to be a tremendous project. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Ron Garza to present the resolution.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be in the room. So good to see you guys. So this is an amazing grant. Quite honestly, with LRGVDC and my perspective on that, and EDA's affiliation, our affiliation with EDA, we've never seen a grant like this. There's, I'm sure most of you have been keeping up with there's a tremendous amount of federal resources right now, and the type of grants are looking a little bit different. So they're turning into these kind of super regional type grants. So we've been following these, as Manny said, there's one that just closed just recently called the Tech Hubs. I really thought that would be a good fit for our region, and it just wasn't with the scope. But this one, the recompete, really has the Rio Grande Valley just key to a T. So we've been meeting kind of with some kind of primary service stakeholders working out of this. And essentially what is really unique and great about this opportunity is that there's very few parameters. This is, again, the widest scope we've ever seen. So they let you identify and define what your region is, what your scope of work is, what your service scope is, and how essentially the premise is, if we gave you this large sum of money, which in the neighborhood of 20 to 50 million, what would you do with it? So we've been working really closely the last couple months or so, and this was a bit of an offshoot also with the Prosperity Task Force for Hidalgo County. We brought all the university administrators and presidents of not only UTRGV, but also the community colleges in the area, and we proposed a plan. So essentially it's three tiers. About 65–70% of the project is workforce development, but in a very different way. A lot of workforce development plans and strategies are building the pipeline, so to speak. This is at the very end of the pipeline, making that solid connection to industry and really incorporating resources that a lot of institutions right now, workforce solutions, higher ed institutions, do not have. So this kind of grant, we're proposing not to just supplement programs that we already administer, but help build us systems so that we can close those gaps. And then the most important thing is that they're sustainable. And quite honestly, in creating this plan, we need to do this with or without these funds. Obviously, if we get the fortunate to have $20–50 million as a springboard, that's great. But we want to build systems and aligning systems of all the cities, all the government entities, with all the workforce development and economic development touch points to make sure we build sustainable systems. The other half, so about 70% workforce development. So all students of all community colleges, TSCC, TSC, STC, university students of UTRGV, and those of Texas A&M will have benefit from these kind of wraparound services. It really begins with identifying, for those that may or may not know this, in economic development, we work very hard to recruiting new industries. However, it's unfortunate and kind of a head scratcher that we actually have high-paying jobs that are unfilled in the Valley today. So we need to ensure that step one is filling those with local talent. And as we harden those systems to do that, then obviously the second tier of that is being able to recruit new job industry. So that second tier, so workforce development is kind of the first phase. Second phase is building, for the lack of a better word, a toolbox for EDCs. For those that know the site selector process, which is a process that external organizations evaluate regions to see where they're going to land companies, because of our unique demographics here, we have 47 cities, four counties, and then the 2 MSAs, and then we have 2 micropolitan statistical areas as well. It's a lot of moving parts when it comes to data, so we're kind of invisible sometimes to site selectors as a region. So what this project proposes to do is kind of overlay some of that data, challenge things like the MSA potential consolidation, kind of revisit that, but a lot of different metrics towards that. The last phase, the last 15%, is about, I know something very important to especially all the local elected officials, is really hardening and creating more resources for entrepreneurship and small business. Small business is the lifeline of all of our economic development. But we all know that there's a lot of small businesses out there not operating at the capacity that should. There's just not enough resources. UTRGV, we administer SBDC. That's just one resource of the many that we have for small businesses. But just that in itself, there's four advisors that cover the 1.5 million plus population, right? So there's a lot of blind spots that we have in all of this. So we feel very confident about this plan. And the way it works is that by October 5th, we actually submit the plan. There's actually no resources to that. And we'll be competing with thousands of plans submitted all across the nation. Of those thousands plans, somewhere in the neighborhood of December, there's going to be 20 regions that are then selected and invited to apply for the grant, formally apply. So of those 20, we're talking about 4 to potentially maybe up to 6 regions that get selected for this. So highly competitive. But again, I've never seen anything that fits the need and really the outcome of all of this. Something that Mario was referencing to. It's improving our economic distress index. All educational attainment, per capita income, median income, percentage of poverty. We lag the statewide and national averages on all those metrics. So this is what I'm really excited about. This is a great way to operationally come together as a region, just operationally, because this will touch every community of the Rio Grande Valley and have equity all across the valley. So step one, UTRGV is going to be, there can only be one applicant. So in talking to our other stakeholders with Workforce Solutions and the other higher ed institutions, we've kind of collectively decided, and they kind of nominated UTRGV to do that. However, we're doing that and submitting this application on behalf of a coalition. We're starting with the Council of Governments today to solidify that coalition. Then over the next week and a half or so, on Monday, just in this very room, I did about a 2-hour briefing. So there's a lot of details to this, and I'm more than happy for anybody, any city, EDC, or any other stakeholder that wants more details, happy to visit with you over the next maybe 2 weeks or so, because then the heavy lift comes into actually writing that proposal in this plan format and submitting it by October 5th. So it's an extremely tight timeline, but definitely well worth it. So very excited about this opportunity. So what this resolution does before you is essentially being part of this coalition. You're the first members. This is the first action. And then confirming that UTRGV will submit the application on behalf of the coalition. After this goes, with any discussion here, I'll be circulating the local communities, especially those larger cities over 25,000 and the counties. We'll be asking for your support through either adopting it by resolution or a letter of support. We don't even know what the notice of funding opportunity looks like for that grant yet. You got to be pre-selected to be invited. So obviously, some of the details we won't know till December if we're fortunate enough to be selected. But again, between LRGVDC, our perspective, and all the stakeholders, we have good insight on what EDA is looking for. And I think we crafted a plan that we're going to be at least competitive. So happy to answer any questions. Or Veronica, would you like to add anything?
I wanted to say, I know a lot of people in this room attended the event that the Rio Grande Valley Partnership had, and that the mayors all signed an agreement that we were going to work collaboratively as a region. And this would be a really great start on that. I know there's already things that are being done. Some cities are teaming up with others in some areas and counties, but this is a great opportunity for us as a region to apply for something that would have an impact on us, not just in the current time, but in the future. And then the administration of it, Ron, thank you, Ron, because it is a heavy lift. This is going to be a very heavy lift. The reason that I think everyone was agreeable to UTRGV doing this was because we are the only one that was in all 4 counties. A&M, TSTC, TSC. Actually, the community colleges are very happy about the way we're doing this, because the legislature this last session changed how they will be funded, and it's based on job placement. TSTC is already under that model. So if this is successful and we're able to place individuals into jobs, it's going to help them with their funding as well with the state. So it is a really I mean, overall, this has a great opportunity for us, but we just got to get to that home base. So we're going to need as much support all across the region to make it happen.
I do want to ensure everybody that every entity and every stakeholder here will have a positive impact if we get this. Because every student of those higher ed institutions on the workforce development strategy, it's taking them soup to nuts to not only educate them, but actually transition them and do the job placement to those locally filled jobs. So we're doing a part of the service gap that a lot of us have. But on the other scope, obviously it's about creating property tax and sales tax, right? So small business development, entrepreneurship development. We want to walk out of this process with a lot more tools for that regional spotlight. So our EDCs and our cities can do better, industry recruitment with more tools. So there's going, we're proposing putting in some funds that we'll be subcontracting to, like the RGV partnership for this marketing proposal. And then to others to follow the trend on, nearshore mapping. And it is extremely comprehensive. So we try to cover every single base on this. So, but that ultimate goal is the lowest hanging fruit is filling the jobs that we have locally today. We build those systems so we can attract more of the other industries that aren't here today.
So the resolution is to approve you sending the LOI in?
Yeah, there's not even a set format of how to present this plan. So we are basically doing a comprehensive white paper on what we would
do it all before you submit anything.
Not every region is going to do that, but my recommendation is we should. We have to prove from day one that we're at least in the running. So that's what Veronica says. This is an extremely heavy lift, but I think that's our only way of competing.
Normally, those type of grants, you do an LOI,
yeah,
and then you get invited to develop.
Yeah.
So you want to develop before you do the LOI.
I want to put as much. We know enough about the parameters because this comes from obviously statute, federal statute. So we want to put as much of a value proposition that we're deserving of this from day one.
Of course, we would populate it more. If
absolutely.
we're invited, then we
Right.
expand upon
Yes,
it. But
yes.
it really does set out the roadmap. And the resolution is to become a coalition member.
So they don't give you a limit on how many pages you can submit on your LOI?
Not in terms of,
I was just sharing with the judge, we just submitted one and they gave us a 5-page limit.
Yeah.
And it says we had to reduce our sentences and cut back.
Yeah.
No. They tell you what print size to use, okay? They're very specific.
It's definitely not going to be an academic type, If anything, what's really ironic about they're hiring reviewers from all across the nation, right? So it's got to be clear, concise, short, to the point, but comprehensive, right? So again, just the NOFO on this phase, we've never seen anything like that it's that broad. Basically saying, let's hear your ideas of what your region is and what you would do with it. So, I love the strategy, but there's very little guidance up front in terms of the technical details.
Like I mentioned earlier, Commissioner, back in June EDA, that's when they started to call us to get prepared to do whatever we needed to up front. So when the notice of funding came out, we would be ready to submit. Any updates can be changed. We need to reduce the font, limit pages. That's minimal. We can do at the end just to satisfy their request. But Ron is taking a great approach.
Opportunity. I know that we're negotiating at the county level for what percent of local people do we want to be employed by this new huge LNGs coming in.
That's right.
And they're afraid of committing to percentages because you don't have that trained workforce. We can't stop our production capacities and our build outs if you don't have the workforce, because we have a percentage limit that we require that they employ locally. So it's challenging.
You're spot on target. Every industry that will not come here that's large, that's the dilemma. So this is our way of proving that we can build it. But it's a hard proposition right now, the fact that we have many unfilled jobs locally that are well paid. We need to work on that first. So
By well paid, I think you had it in it was what, $16.47 or something and above?
again, there's not a metric for that, but again, our target at least is hitting statewide averages on all true distress indicators. If you broke down per capita income, yeah, it's about $16.75 per hour. So this will not touch any job that pays below that. We're looking for $20 and up, $20 an hour and up, right in that range. High paying, sustainable, social mobility type occupations.
I think it's fabulous. I think it's,
Yeah.
I'm sure the council wants to be part of the coalition. I know the city will, and hats off to you. It does sound like a huge task, and I echo the commissioner's sentiment that it seems like you're having to do a lot just to get in the door, which is odd, but if it's going to help the region, I think this shows that we are really getting behind. It's not just a hashtag or just words
Right.
that we're saying, that we're actually really being one region, right? One voice for the region. So I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
Having said that, do we have a motion to adopt the resolution? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you.
I don't know how we're going to get through all this, Manny.
I'll make my quick.
Yes, item G is the executive director's report.
And so just like EDA has been hounding us for the past couple of weeks to submit, we are going to return the favor and be at their doorstep every single moment of the day so they can fund it. So the next item is just the executive director's report. I just wanted to go briefly just introduce new staff. And as you will see from the numbers, Valley Metro, our AAA department has been really busy bringing new folks on board. So I won't read all the names, but you'll see them on the screen. So we've had a tremendous, application process. So kudos to Tom Logan, Ms. Margarita, and so also our finance department. And our most recent addition is Ms. Melissa Gonzalez. She's the assistant director. We just hired, started Monday. And so she'll be heading our community economic development department, which a director was very much needed in that arena. So we're very fortunate to have her on board to lead that effort. The next update that I have is, again, as a reminder, the public safety deadline or just to submit the survey for broadband is coming up tomorrow, actually August 31st. So along those lines, just wanted to make you aware of some potential, or not potential, but actual funding that will be allocated. This is being spearheaded by the Texas Department of Information Resources, along with the Public Safety Office. And so there's been about $1 billion nationwide, for infrastructure under the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act for cybersecurity opportunities and funding. And so Texas, the state of Texas is receiving $40 million over the next 4 years. And so all the regions are going to be taking part in this funding opportunity. And so the DIR and PSO is looking to partner up. So we graciously, volunteered, raised our hands to be the points of contact for this region to help them in the funding of these monies. So the $40 million will be allocated based on population. So 1.3 based on the entire state of Texas. And so we're going to be helping out the PSO in reviewing applications, scoring and ranking the applications when the time comes. But this is a guaranteed funding that's going to be allocated. So $40 million over the next 4 years. The first year would be 88 million. Second year, 16 million. Third year, 12 million. Fourth year, 4 million. And there is unfortunately an escalating match associated with these grants. The first year will be 10%, second year 20%, third year 30%, and fourth year 40% match.
Is that information in our packet?
There's
right?
a very brief summary.
Yeah, just a brief summary, but not what you're telling us.
This is just the latest information. When we met with our Texas Association of Regional Councils, that's who's putting us in contact with the PSO. And so, other than that, there is a soft match that's going to be acceptable. There is a possibility of a match waiver for those that apply. And so that's coming up. So again, I will keep the board updated and the local cities, jurisdictions, counties informed when that time comes. We'll establish a review committee, and I'm thinking of tapping into the broadband coalition that's already in existence to help us out with the review of applications, ranking, and scoring. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if there's any. If not, we can move
This is Ann
on.
Cass. I have a question. Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I have a question, and it may have been answered many times, but a lot of people are asking me, are the allocations for all of the broadband grants or proposals, are they going to cover individual signups, or are they just putting the basic broadband towers and things like that in? A lot of people want to know, well, is it going to cost me money then every month or not? Is that being discussed, and is there an answer to that question, or is it dependent upon the area?
What the allocations, as all of us should know by now, is they're going to be solely dependent on the coverage, broadband coverage area map that FCC has developed, which we do not agree on the current status. But under the Infrastructure Investment Job Act, there's many streams of funding. And for this particular stream of funding is under the state and local cybersecurity grant program. And each I guess section of that main component will have eligibility or eligible allowable equipment such as infrastructure for towers, or even to the point of helping out the community, the residents on various types of initiatives as far as the funding is concerned, or even equipment. But that will be further delineated as the other grants under that IIJA come out.
Yeah, I understand all that, but like if you live in the Colonia, and you get the broadband towers and all that, are you still going to have to go to McDonald's to get free access?
Well, I mean, that's a possibility, but the intent of all this initiative is to focus on the underserved or unserved communities such as the colonias. And so again, it's going to be based on each individual pot of funding on what is allowable and what's not.
There's already programs in place. If you have accessibility and have certain income levels, that you get a subsidy from the government. As a matter of fact, we did one colonia in Cameron County in which the sign up was if kids went to school and had free or reduced lunch, they automatically in the household qualified for internet services once we put the infrastructure that made it available to them. The key is you have to have that infrastructure. And I think that's what this grant is all about, is providing infrastructure so that there will be accessibility. There's programming in place already for those of limited economic capacity to buy internet, to have that subsidy on a monthly basis for, I think it's 2 years right now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How do we keep that sustainable? Because that's the issue. There'll be monies right now for people to get to pay their bill, but then what happens when those grants run out, right? I think that's going to be important to also talk to the state about, because it's becoming a utility, frankly. I mean, we're going to need to do something to make sure that each household can do it based on income levels, but that there's affordable internet.
Affordability.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be like light, a necessity for water. I mean, internet broadband service becomes a necessity, and I guess they hope in 2 years you figure out a way to continue buying it.
Well, we had the same concern because when it comes to small jurisdictions, cities, you're investing all these millions of dollars in the infrastructure, but maintaining it goes back to the same issue we have with interoperable communication. Who's gonna be there to maintain, upkeep the equipment, the infrastructure, and so forth. And so, I agree that this is going to be an ongoing venture in the future, kind of like a utility bill, that more money needs to be, put towards this effort. And we need you all's help, since we can't lobby, but you all's help to contact the legislatures to make sure that they are aware that we're not going to burden the cities with this, even though it's a funded mandate right now. What about at the end of the day? Who's going to maintain that equipment? So it's very important.
Did you, I know Jim has had his hand up. Jim Darling has.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. The infrastructure cost is the main funding. I know AT&T had a program. If they had infrastructure out there with federal money, it was like $11 or $12 a month for basic services. McAllen Services, which reaches 23,000 homes, cost about, with just the device that they have, cost about to maintain. It was about $3 million to put in. It costs about right around $300,000 a year to maintain. So there is not a lot of long-term. There's some short-term maintenance money in these federal programs and state programs, but no long-term.
Is there any other discussion?
That's why it's important to partner with a company that has the capacity to maintain, such as AT&T, Spectrum, BTX, some of these other companies. And they have that capacity built into their systems already. You look at the larger metropolitan areas where you can get high-speed internet service, 500 by 100 for $20 a month. But yet here, you got to pay 100. So I think the more people come on board also, that will create some competition and bring some more folks that are providers into the area. The more providers, the better the price.
Sure.
And I don't mean county providers or city providers. I mean you don't need any more burden to the taxpayer where the taxpayer is buying the service.
All important. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, Manny, you're going to be quick.
Yes, item number 5, department reports, community economic development, just a status report. Just as a reminder, we have a vacancy under the RORAD for the special purpose district drainage for Hidalgo County category. So if you're interested, please submit your information, or Valerie Ramos will be here after the meeting. We can touch base then. The rest of the status reports are in your tablets.
Great.
And we can move on.
Yeah, and we'll move on because we do have other action items, so we can save some time. Item B, Health and Human Services, Margarita Lopez.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time today. I'll try to move as quickly as possible. As you saw on your packets, I do have 4 action items for your consideration today. The first action item is consideration and action to approve the Lower Rio Grande Valley Area Agency on Aging Area Plan for fiscal year 2024 through 2026.
Second.
We got a Mayor Nori Garza and then a second from Commissioner Garza.
Somebody
Or right here, Gonzalez. I'm sorry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Action item 2, consideration and action to approve the list of subrecipients proposals for fiscal year 2024.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 3.
Thank you. Consideration and action to approve the direct purchase service vendor contractor list for fiscal year 2024.
There's no discussion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Action 4, consideration and action to approve the Citizen Advisory Council membership application from Mr. Cesar Medla. He is a fitting addition in the category slots specified for individuals with leadership experiences across both the private and voluntary sectors.
Your motion?
One second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Moving on to item C, public safety. Manny?
Cesar Mella will present the items, action items only.
Yes, thank you, Ms. President and members of the board. Testimony for Homeland Security and Criminal Justice, 2 action items today, quick and simple. First one is consideration action for the approval of the Homeland Security Advisory Committee, HSAC bylaws, policies, and procedures, FY 24 and 25. The committee met during the month of July and August, and we went ahead and redid our bylaws to be more uniform and more expedited. So now it's an easier process to get things approved and to fund the entire region.
Make a motion.
There's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. And last but not least, same as the HSAC, is the Criminal Justice Advisory Committee, consider an action to approve the updated bylaws, binding form, policies and procedures for FY 24-25. Same justification is just to expedite and make the process more uniform across the region.
Is there a motion to approve the updated bylaws? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Are there any other reports here, Manny?
No, we can move on to item D, transportation.
Okay. Item D, transportation, Valley Metro Action Item, Tom Logan.
Consideration and action to approve Valley Metro vehicle policy and facility maintenance plan revisions.
Is there any discussion or is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is Andrew here?
Mr. Cannon?
I could send a presentation.
Okay, it's up to you, Mayor.
Okay, that's fine.
That's fine.
So
Okay.
you'll send that to the board or? Okay, wonderful. All right. I kind of rushed through there. I wanted to make time, but now great. Item 6, is there any new or unfinished business that anyone has to discuss?
Just wanted to point out, for those of you that might not know, we're having our first public safety wellness seminar. You can see on the walls, there's some posters. We have about close to 250 first responders signed up. So please join us. We'll have some enlightening speakers, first responders, and we have Channel 5 as MC. Will be joining us, Mr. Troy. And so it's going to be a well presented wellness seminar for first responders. And this will be our first. Hopefully we can continue as part of the RGV 911 district to put this on for first responders and elected officials.
And our next meeting is September 27th, 2023, Wednesday. And that's it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you.